Sales have been great overall this last few days, and we had a little hiccup last week, but it looks like we're back on track. A lot of it has to do with what we're buying, and we're buying really good right now. A lot of merchandise. I mean, I've been picking up pallets like every day. Still have another one to pick up tomorrow, and we're running low on space. So Jenna told me to just calm down. But what got me to make this video, and this video is about your buy cost, why it's so important. I think a lot of people just disregard it. You go to your yard sales, go to the thrift store, and you buy whatever you buy. You save your receipts, right? Or if you don't have receipts from a yard sale, you may take note of it. Maybe you have like a little notepad or something. Maybe something like a notepad that you put your expenses on, and you just kind of do it that way. And maybe you're not even taking note what you're paying for each item. Maybe you're out of the yard sale and you spend $200. You got a carload of stuff, but all you know is you started off with $300. You came home with $100, so you spent $200. And that's how you do your accounting. And I guess that's good enough for most people. But I'd like to think that a lot of you guys want to improve on your processes. And in fact, for me, my process ain't 100% perfect, but it works better than not keeping track. And so there's a lot of you out there probably have a great system. Keep doing what you're doing if that works for you. But the problem arises when you're not keeping accurate data on what you're buying. There's so many problems that arise. Number one, you could be buying items, let's say in this large lot of stuff you buy at the yard sale, let's say half of them might not even be profitable. You just figure, I think I paid $1 for these, but you're not quite sure. Well, I mean, you may have spent $5 and now you're pricing them out at 10, and you're really not making as much as you thought you were. And I think it's really important. I think a lot of times we think we're making money on an item, but after the fees, after, eBay gets their hands on it, of course, your shipping, supplies, and all that stuff, what are you really making on an item? And if you're not keeping track of what you're making on an item, well, you're just guessing at that point. And how many really good businesses operate just with a sheer guess? So if someone was to come up to you and say, hey, I like that whatever you have for sale, how much did you pay for it? If you don't have an actual record to say, I paid $5.50 versus, I don't know, maybe $5 or $10, are you really running your business like a business? Is this just more like a hobby? And if you're a hobby reseller, then, do what you're doing. But this message is more for those who want more out of their eBay business, right? It's really a job that we've created for ourselves. But for many of us, we try to treat this job as a business. And if you're not keeping actual records on things, and it's not for like IRS purposes, because if you're using the cash accrual system, or not the cash system, not the accrual system, then you're doing like most people do, where you figure out I had $30,000 in cost of goods for the year, and that's what you're reporting. You don't have to break it down. This breakdown that you're doing is more for your own individual mindset and knowing if you're buying profitable items versus not, right? Knowing how much you can come down on a discount on an item and still be X amount profit on an item. Maybe for some 3X is perfectly fine. I try to shoot for 10X plus if I can, but there's times I'm taking 6 to 8X and sometimes even lower than that when an item's been sitting for a long, long time. And how am I going to know if I am bringing the price down too low on an item that's been sitting for 2 months if I don't know what I'm into it for? So the strategy that I employ, and a lot of times I'm buying more than one item at a time. Okay. So like when I go out and buy my liquidation items, I am buying those individually. I am taking note of the entire cost of buying that item, whether it is the cost of the item to sometimes these locations that you buy from online charge a buyer's premium of like 10 to 15%. And then if you don't have any kind of a reseller's certificate on file with that company, they're going to charge you sales tax. And so that $5 item may end up turning into like $7. But if you're not keeping track of that, you really don't know. And if someone was to ask you, how much did you spend in cost of goods all year, you really just have to guess at that point. And I really think it's very important just to know your numbers, and knowing your cost of goods is knowing those numbers. Now, like on that one side, I tell you, like I buy items individually. It's all there out there for me. I know that if I spend $5 on an item online, I'm going to be spending a lot more than that. But what happens if you buy a large liquidation lot? And many of you guys don't buy liquidation. Some of you do. What happens if you buy a bunch of stuff at a yard sale and you have a great time with some friends and you just have $300 in your pocket, you spend $200? How much do you know? How much is that shirt that you bought? And let's just say your memory is not that great. Maybe you bought it all in a large lot with that particular seller. So you said, how much do you want for all the shirts? And they gave you, they told you $50 and you took it. How much is that shirt individually? Now, you could go in and say you bought 20 shirts for $50. Go in and say, all right, well, then that means I spent $2.50 per shirt. And you would be right in saying that. However, there are times you can't really do that for your entire lot. And what I mean is, and I guess I'm going to show you here in a second what I mean and why I do it this way. But there's going to be times you go in and buy different types of items. So maybe you buy a bunch of shirts, but you buy maybe a computer, maybe a laptop they're selling for $50. You picked it up, you can flip it for about $300 or $400. You're not going to assign what we call cost averaging, where you're not going to assign, that as $2.50. You're going to go in and kind of cost average out what that item is. Now, it's one way to do it. I mean, you can assign whatever value you want to it as long as the math adds up at the end of the day, I suppose. But this video is going to show you sort of what I do. So I have this spreadsheet. And this is representative of just one of the pallets that I bought. This is one that I actually have to go and pick up tomorrow. And if we look at it closer, you'll see that I have this list of about 27 items. 3 items are unknown to me, okay? And there's just a generic value assigned to that item. And the MSRP, I know a lot of people laugh at the MSRP. MSRP really doesn't mean a whole lot. Usually, because I buy these are Amazon liquidation return pallets, the MSRP represents the recent price that this was listed for on Amazon, or what it was going for on Amazon recently. Now, prices can change over time. Resellers on Amazon, they change their prices, add discounts and things like that all the time. But this is, from my experience, usually these manifests are fairly accurate. A lot of times you'll see errors that they make, convenient errors, where they'll say this item's worth $10,000 when it's really only worth $100. But you can also go in and weed those out as well. But this particular data here that I'm looking at looks pretty straightforward. Now, as you can see, I have a Shark robot vacuum cleaner, $599 MSRP. And I have at the bottom a Sunjo compact leaf blower for $89.04. I'm not going to assign the same buy cost to both items, just the way I do it. It's figuring that out. Now, what I did, you see the cost per? The cost per is I have figured out that my percentage of MSRP on this item, and I have it in here, is 6.7%. I don't know why I don't have it written here, but 6.7% is the percentage of MSRP. So I bought this particular pallet for, let's see if I can tell you here. I bought this one. Look at my invoice here from this place. This one was $378.51. Okay. And again, I'm getting 3 items that I do not know what they are. I've seen the photo of the pallet, but there's just so much stuff there that I really can't decipher what I'm getting. And I will find out pleasantly, hopefully, that I have a couple of good items there. So I just allow it to assign the generic $24.99, knowing I'm probably going to receive an item that's more than $24.99 in value. So the total MSRP of everything that's here is $5,662.55. Now at 6.7%, my buy cost is $380. Okay. Now I bought that for $380 ish, right? Roughly. I think that's after my fees. So I'm going to take 6.7% of $599.99, and that's going to give me $40.20. That's my cost for this Shark robot vacuum. And so all I simply did was I did a sum formula in Excel. I don't know if you can see that here. You probably cannot because my banner's in the way, but it is somewhat difficult to see, but I highlighted it up there. If you know anything about Excel, it's a good idea to actually learn Excel if you can, because it'll help you a lot in your accounting. So all I simply did was that formula, and I just drug it down, and it calculated that for every item that I have here. Now I have another column here that I have not done anything with, and what I usually like to do is I like to put in a formula here, where it calculates 40% of MSRP. And I will drag that down there as well. And I'll change the type real fast so that it is currency. So why do I have this column? I have this column because within liquidation, I have a 40-40 model, meaning that I plan on making 40% of what that MSRP is, because I haven't seen the item's condition. 40% really falls on the low side of the range of what I'm going to make for that item. So if I get an item that's in obviously used condition, based on my 40-40 model, I'm going to get somewhere around $240. And that's not even looking at the solds. I have no idea what the solds are going to tell me. Many times the solds will say that that number should be higher for a used item. And a lot of times it's going to say that number is lower for a used item. So this just gives me an approximate idea. I find that between the items that are higher and the items that are lower, I find that it falls closer to 40%. And so why do I use 40%? Because I don't want to get my hopes up when I'm looking at a pallet. I don't want to get my hopes up when I'm looking at MSRP and saying, wow, I can really make $5,662, when you're not going to be able to do that. So in my mind, what does 40% MSRP on this lot look like? So what am I going to make on this entire lot? And for me, that is, I should make somewhere around $2,265.02, give or take, a little bit lower, and good pallets are going to be a little bit higher. But when I'm putting my buy cost in here, so eBay is, I don't know if you guys know this, but eBay with the summer seller update is going to be implementing, I don't know when, I haven't seen it just yet, but it's going to be implementing a place for you to put your actual buy cost in, so you can keep better track, and eBay can calculate that when they're showing you your numbers on what your net sales are. Because currently when it calculates your net sales, it's only looking at the amount that you've paid directly to eBay for shipping and your eBay fees. It's not looking at any other costs associated with that sale. And by putting in or inputting your buy cost, it's allowing eBay to make that more accurate for you. And I know there's a lot of people that in the video I created for the summer slowdown video yesterday, there's a lot of people that were thinking that it's not wise to input your buy cost in to eBay, because we're giving eBay all this data and they're going to know how much we're into an item for, and they can then jack up rates. We got to stop looking at eBay as the monster that's in your closet. Okay. They've done a lot of nefarious things to people in the past. And yes, I understand they have that stain on them that probably will never go away. But you got to realize eBay is actually trying to make software, their program, as broken as we've seen it be, they're trying to make implementations to this platform. And they are, believe it or not, they are trying to help sellers by giving us more data and giving us more ways of obtaining that data. And I really, really feel, guys, and you guys can feel however you want. But look, I have been known for to be a conspiracy theorist. I think a lot of you guys actually have said that in the comments. But you can't be that way with everything. Okay, you have to. eBay has a lot of work to do to earn a lot of our trust, right? But you have to sometimes operate in good faith and work within the program. I promise you, the people that are more willing to work with eBay are going to go farther than those who don't. Those who are always looking for ways to show eBay or not give eBay another dime. In the long run, I really think you might be hurting your business. That mentality is not a healthy one. So with that said, and I digress, but I really had to say that, when I list this vacuum, I'm going to put $40.20 in there. Now, when eBay calculates, and this is the second reason why I believe that we should be using the knowing our cost, is so when eBay tries to tell you what your gross numbers are, you're going to know more what your margins are. So I use a spreadsheet to figure out what my margins are, have an intricate one that kind of every time I get expenses or this, that, other thing, I put it in there and it's figuring it all out. And it's actually taking that out and it's telling me that I'm making about a 48% margin. And I think short of having that, and a lot of you guys aren't tech savvy and don't have the Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets, or I think it's Apple numbers or whatever. It's a lot of time to set up, a lot of knowledge that you have to figure this out. And, a lot of you just look, I don't want to deal with numbers like that. But I really think whether you're doing this on a spreadsheet or on a piece of paper or on a tablet or a journal or whatever you're doing, it is an excellent idea that you are keeping track, and maybe you're figuring this all out at the time you're making the listing, but somewhere you're putting the data somewhere, whether it's in the SKU or whether you're going to trust this new feature that eBay is implementing to put your cost into eBay. I'm telling you guys, businesses that sell things, retail, they know how much they're into their items for. And also the third reason why you want to know what you're into your items for, because we all make bad buys. I got to tell you, I got these blurred out toilet seats behind me, but they're going to sell at some point, but not at the price that I initially thought that they would sell at based on what my other ones sold at. And I'm maybe looking at 3 or 4x flip on these by the time it's all said and done. It certainly wasn't worth the buy, but I know what I'm into them for. So I know how low I can go before it starts really becoming a giveaway. And short of knowing that, I think a lot of new sellers have gotten into problems. And I know not to buy these again. And this is just one example. There's many times that I bought an item, and even though the comps will say something, right? Terapeak will say something, I'm finding out otherwise. And then it's one of those things where, like, look, I paid $10 for this, and I ain't paying $10 again. Maybe I'll get into this product again at $2, but when you lose money on an item or a purchase, it's not a fun thing, especially when you're buying liquidation. You run that risk, and that's why I like my 40/40 method, because it really tampers down your expectations, and it puts you in a place where even on a bad lot, you're going to be closer to your projected number, but on a good lot, you're going to be somewhere between the 40/40, the 40% MSRP, probably going to be somewhere around 60% MSRP on a good lot. So that's what I do, guys, and that's why I do it. And I'm not here to convert anyone over to my line of thinking. I'm simply here to tell you what works for Flippin' Ain't Easy, and give you ideas on what maybe something that could be something that can work for you. But again, a spreadsheet set up this way, all I did was simply take the manifest from the site that I've been buying on. And I also use this data to help me figure out, like if I go to some of these other ones, I'll go here and try to figure out if this lot is even worth buying based on the MSRPs and my 40/40, boom. And then I've been able to even get away with 40/20, which is, for those of you who don't know, 40% is of MSRP. That's what I expect to make off of the sale. And the other 40% is what I want to be into that lot for. But I've been doing 40/20 lately. And so a lot that would get me $2,003, I can try to get that as low as $400 out the door. And I've been making that work. But I do have room to work up to 40/40 on a really, really good lot. And I do have videos about that. If you're interested, you're, of course, always welcome to go check them out. My liquidation videos and my 40/40 method video. Just do a search on my channel. So that's a lot of, maybe for some of you guys, it was a long-winded thing, and maybe this information isn't going to be beneficial to you whatsoever, and that's fine. All I can do is offer up ideas, and what I do in this particular case, cost averaging does go a long way to help you figure out what your individual cost per item is. And whether you implement that or not, figuring it out is yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day. Programming note, for those of you who are watching this far, thank you for watching this all the way through. But we are having our live tomorrow a little early, and just wanted to let you guys know that we do have a special guest on hand, J Ride Flips, and he is going to be on with us at 12 noon Pacific time, and that's 3 o'clock Eastern. So please be here for that, and come in and ask your reselling questions. He is a wealth of knowledge, and he does well. He makes a lot of sales, and I think anytime you have a chance to do a Q&A with someone that's very successful, then that can only help you in the long run. So be there with us for that. And in the meantime, I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.